What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy, that little ton of fun back there somewhere. Hey, Achilles, say hi. Oh, good enough. His name is Achilles. My New Year's resolution is I will not keep him out of the room anymore when I'm recording, unless I'm jamming. Misymphonia is real. And welcome back to another episode of Min-Maxing for Pet the Kitty. Today, in regards to the Pathfinder 2e Zeitgeist and a cat that you can't see me just wildly petting. Achilles, will you come up here? Just once, just one time. Come on. Come on. I'm gonna have to get treats in here, so he'll come up here and do the boobs. I guess he's more than fine to sit in my lap. Very good. I've been questioning a lot. Do you really have choices in combat in Pathfinder 2? Do we have to make the same optimized decisions every time for value? I am here to say yes and no. Yes, you have choices. No, you don't have to do the same thing in combat for value. And today we are going to talk about the power of choice in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Remember, Patreon gets you access to a Google Sheet that this bad boy is written up on, and to like, subscribe, drink the... I don't even remember what this energy drink is called. Like, subscribe, and drink the rain. Stay caught up on all of your caffeine dependency, I mean 1st and 2nd edition coverage. But for now, let's hit it. Okay, so first things first, I suppose, let me address the owlbear in the room. This video is 130% not to continue a flame war with another YouTube channel in regards to their own opinions about Pathfinder 2nd edition. I have seen some of you posting some videos out there where you destroy taking 20's notion with this one simple trick. I know, Achilles, right? Doesn't that sound kind of shitty and rude? And doesn't it sound like, yeah, it does. It does sound like if somebody really wanted to not play a system, we should respect their space and allow them to do so. Rather, I feel challenged. I really enjoy character optimization. Y'all know this. Never have I ever optimized to be versatile. Optimized to do a lot of things. And while I agree that choice is an illusion in the sense of, well, not every character is going to be good at everything, there are definitely some skill feats you can throw in the bucket to help with that. Or again, if you'd like to be the jack of all trades and the master of most, you can 100% build into it. I discovered a lot of things about 2nd edition as I made this character, and one of them is that building for options is really easy, it turns out. As easy as playing an Investigator. I have definitely, at least right now, as of this video, decided the Investigator is my favorite class in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, just bar none. And that's because of Devised Stratagem. Choose a creature you can see for one action, roll a d20. If you strike the chosen creature later this round, you must use the result of the roll you made to devise a stratagem, but only on that first attack. When you do so, you add your int mod to your attack instead of your strength or dex, provided your strike uses an agile or finesse melee weapon, an agile or finesse unarmed attack, a ranged weapon, or a sap. If you're aware that the creature you chose is the subject of a lead you're pursuing, you can use this ability as a free action, which pursue a lead is just as easy as spend 60 seconds outside the door in the dungeon, if we're assuming that's what we're doing, with whatever clue you've got, whether that's hearing them talk on the other side of the door, a footprint, or like, we found a body. It must certainly had been killed by that Glabrazu. Shit. And then suddenly, for 1 or sometimes 0 actions, you suddenly have what, in like Magic the Gathering terms, feels very much like a scry land. Look at the top card of your library, put it on the top or the bottom. Roll a d20. Do you want to hit this dude with that or not? From there, that's where the choices kind of umbrella out. If you see something that is a critical hit, by all means, strike the shit out of them, do a lot of damage. Or, if you don't like the result, you can either chance the RNG again against another target, of course. That assumes there's someone else you could murder somewhere on the battlefield. Stop looking at the wizard like that. No. Or you can devote the other 2 actions of your turn doing anything else, knowing with at least a certain degree of certainty you didn't waste your action economy. You just chose to do something, again in magic terms, very blue magey, you cantripped rather than doing damage, or chancing a miss in favor of other things. What those other things are pretty boundless. Anything from striding into a flank to help the barbarian, or in your case, you nerd, recalling knowledge, Or something as simple as opening or closing a door, causing the bad guys to lose a little bit of action economy. Take cover. If this is something like Age of Ashes, help people who don't understand how to get out of a fire, get out of a fire. Follow this card right up here. I'm still mad about it. As well as a myriad other things. Investigator is also great in and of the fact that the class feat Athletic Strategist lets you devise a stratagem to modify disarming, grappling, shoving, or tripping, and lets you use your int instead of strength for that athletics check, which makes us a little more single ability dependent, which is so huge in like TTRPGs at large. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Today, our investigator will be the Ancient Elf, partially because the monk dedication helps us with battlefield control via disarming, tripping, shoving, as well as keeping our damage output kinda up there, on top of the other things we want to get up to that further diversifies our options. That monk dedication stings a little bit in and of the fact that we're going to need to have a strength and dex of 14, but gives us access to some really cool finessable stances that can, again, help us do the things we want to do. Though I wasn't intentionally trying to build an archer at first, here we are. And I suppose we could, but we didn't. If you could squeeze in an extra feat for advanced weapons for proficiency with the die queue, you wouldn't have to worry about firing inside volley range. But the weapon is still hands 1+. You need 2 hands to fire it, but at rest, when you're not actively trying to shoot a bird out of the sky, you have a hand free, which means you can trip, which means you can shove, which means you can grapple, which means you can drop into a style and punch somebody. A short bow will do us just fine. Maybe a longbow if you think you're going to be firing in long range. Volley just looks real scary to me. Though, truly, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, there's nothing saying you couldn't just carry both into battle and switch to the bigger damage dice if you're going to be shooting off a wall, then the smaller one for your breaking and entering. Maybe that's right, Achilles. Sometimes we have to break and enter and shoot people with our short bows, and then punch them as a monk. You're so smart. Good boy. For our background, we'll take Animal Wrangler. Weird, right? We're talking about at least one skill feat. You get a boatload of skill feats. They're up to you. Pick the thing you want to do, boo. You know better than me. But we are going to want the Titan Wrestler skill feat, which will let us disarm, grapple, shove, or trip creatures up to 2 sizes larger or 3 sizes if you're legendary, which we eventually will be, so as to not be shut off in this option. And since skill feats go in their own bucket, you aren't really losing out on anything else to have done this. Empiricism is today's methodology, which lands you the That's Odd Investigator feat. Helpful to keep the game moving. Hey, look, here's a thing you should automatically be aware of. Look at that person who's smart. As well as once per 10 minutes, you can recall knowledge, seek, or sense motive in combat as a free action. So our starting ability scores at level 1 will again have to be strength and dex of 14, which hurts our wisdom a little, but that's all right. A con of 10, because elf, 1 neg and 1 buy off from that freebie at the end. An int of 18, wisdom of 12, charisma of 10. On top of the elf having a really good stat block for investigators, it's also the fastest ancestry right now, which is huge when you need to diversify your options. Sometimes you just need to stride into position. Sometimes you need to stride into a flank. Sometimes you need to stride up closer to get somebody in your bow's range increment, so you can then study and throw an arrow into the sky hoping it brings that rock down. And also with Ancestral Longevity, the options go even farther because during daily prep you can choose a skill you weren't trained in and now you're trained in it. Investigators are trained in Society, Empiricists, 1 int-based skill of your choice. Oh wow, it's a choice. And then 4+ int more skills on top of that, which means we have a total of 10 skills we're trained in to start, and 1 floating every day. That's a total of 11 out of 17, with a small exception for the various diverse lores that can exist. Oh wait, yeah, duh, we have some kind of animal lore too. 12 out of 17, if we assume 1 lore forever. Or 70% of the skills in the game we can use. Probably also we can dodge things like crafting and performance, and maybe thievery, leaving us all the rest of the skills to roll when we need to learn all the things to remain useful and relevant throughout campaigns. and always have something to do, both when initiative is rolled and we're pushing and shooting and punching, and when initiative is not rolled and we need to talk to people, gather information, so on and so forth. Or when information is rolled and you don't know what that monster is and you need to know what it's weak to. For our class feats, at first, that's odd. Again, when you enter a new location, you immediately notice one thing out the ordinary. The GM determines what it is or if there's anything there. You only learn that an area or object is suspicious but not the why. It can be very helpful for the not as high-end player playing a high-end PC, and it speeds up the investigation for those of us who just want to get down to punchy. At level 2, again, athletic strategists will help us do the thing that we want to do, sometimes anyway, or at least have that option there when we want to push someone in an attempt to shove them over a cliff, trip them to debuff their attacks and make them flat-footed more easily, shove them into a wall, take their sword away from them. If you're fighting a dude with a sword and you can athletic strategist his sword away, that means they are either wasting actions to get a new weapon out, wasting actions to get their weapon back from you, or their damage output just dropped considerably, which is so goddamn important in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. But when you feel like actually doing damage at level 4, Tiger's Stance will do it. This gives you the Tiger Claw attack, which does 1d8 slashing damage in the brawling group with the Agile, which means our map is smaller if we decide to Nova. Finesse, non-lethal, hey, maybe you want to take him in alive, and unarmed traits. On a crit success, you deal a d4 persistent bleed, which will happen with some degree of regularity. You may not flurry as much as a real monk or a ranger, but one good hit will generally be enough. Oh, by the way, also you can step 10 feet, so that's fun. Not sure if it can attack a up, why chance it? Next, to further the have more options strat, Predictive Purchase. This gives you Prescient Planner and Prescient Consumables for free. When you use Prescient Planner, you can pull out the item as a 2-action activity to remove your backpack or similar container and draw the item rather than taking a minute. But what exactly does all that nonsense mean? Well, friend, I'm so glad you asked. Prescient Planner reads, you regularly create convoluted plans and contingencies using your resources to enact them. The feat costs the price of your chosen item and you can only use it once per time to re-up stuff. You take a minute, or in our case 2 actions, to remove your backpack, then carefully remove an item you hadn't previously declared you'd purchased, which must be a piece of adventuring gear and cannot be a weapon, armor, alchemical item, magic item, or other treasure. Has to be common, has to have a level no higher than half your level. Its bulk must be low enough that you can carry it without being encumbered, so sorry kids, you're not pulling a wagon out of your backpack. Prescient Consumable will let you. On top of that, for 2 actions, and assuming you have the money, you can reach into your pocket and pull out ammunition, oils, potions, talismans, scrolls, bit of rope, a grappling hook, pitons, snowshoes, warm weather gear. The list goes on. And I love these feats so much right now where we sit in 2nd edition at this literally particular moment in time, because the more books are released, the better this becomes. It also gives you, wait for it, options in combat. A 2-action activity to pull out a potion, then a 1-action to drink it, or set it down so your friend can get it, means that, well, friend, as long as you've got the gold, you have that out. Pro tip, talk to your party about this feat and see if they're comfortable with you carrying all of the loot. You go to town, they buy the stuff they need, you hold on to change if it exists just to enable this. They will thank you 1 potion or owlbear claw or scroll of something or other later. Moving on, Detective's Readiness next, which will give you the buff you get from Pursue a Lead to saves against your subject, probably against the boss monster and a lot of things. And you can use your clue in reaction to buff people's saves, which makes that reaction more of a valid option in combat. Monk's Flurry, as soon as we can get it, will allow us to, for 1 action, make 2 unarmed strikes if both hit the same creature, combine their damage for the purposes of resistances and weaknesses, apply the map to the strikes normally, use it once per turn, which kind of doubles down on that scry ability. It's essentially scry 1, draw 2. You know that first attack's gonna crit. Why not for 1 action throw a second dice at it? Sure, no harm in that. And then stride out of the way, step out of the way, recall knowledge at somebody else, open a door, close a door, or try the last attack at -8. No reason to not. even if it misses. Next, reason rapidly, because it's so fucking extra, and I will never not love 5 recall knowledges for 1 action. When you need to know all the things, you know all the things. Then into flurry of maneuvers, which means during that big nova of I'm sure the first one's gonna crit, or maybe even better, I see a crit, I would like to trip you, then put you to flat-footed for the second Tiger Claw, push you into a wall, you take some damage, then punch you for more, adds on to the versatility we have already established. Mixed maneuver will allow you to choose any 2 of grapple, shove, and trip. For 2 actions, you can attempt both against a creature you choose or different creatures, but you don't apply the map until you've resolved both. Tiger Slash, incredibly late to the party, holy god. For 2 actions, make a Tiger Claw strike. It deals 2 extra weapon damage dice, 3 extra if you're 14th or higher, which we are, and you can get 5 feet from a successful shove. And if it's a crit success and deals damage, you can 1d4 plus strength persistent bleed. That's a lot of extra damage dice if you've seen a crit happen. 1 action's devise strategy, see a natural 20 for 2 actions, punch you real good. Then monk resiliency, because why not? Let's have some HP. Now, skill feats are not something we're super going to talk about today. You get a bunch of them, your mileage will vary. Some of them I think are kind of not on the useful side. Some of them will be really good for you, some of them will not be. Other than Titan Wrestler, which makes sure we can bop people around that are much bigger than we are. That's the only one I think you need. The rest, pick the one that you want. Hashtag battle medicine. Well, the Ancestry feats, Ancestral Longevity, already talked about it. Really good for the having lots of options. Elven Instincts will ensure you go first, at least if you're rolling Perception for initiative. Expert Longevity gets you free expert in a skill on top of that bonus trained, as well as a quick retrain of skill increases if you liked the thing you got or think you'll be using it a lot for a while. And then Universal Longevity. For 1 action once per day, switch that around if, damn it, we really need to rest. We need to survival. JK, no, I got this. Then, of course, last but not least, Halfling Luck. You knew you'd see it. It's just too good to not, guys. To round out the general feats, Fleet will make us a little faster to help diversify the palette if we need to move in, around, up, down, left, right, center. Toughness for more HP, which we don't have a lot of. Then Die Hard, because the math is hard and you don't want to die. Adopted Ancestry for Halflings for access to Halfling Luck. Then True Perception, because True Seeing is real good. So far as your key magic items go, we'll talk about 4 of them. 1 of them you could maybe miss. It sort of depends on y'all and kind of your GM. With the ability to pull items out of your pocket, it's hard to list what items are good because you've got access to all of them. But first things first, of course, the Diadem of Intellect, our apex item for intelligence, and an extra reason rapidly, that's fun. And if we're enjoying tripping and grappling, the armbands of athleticism give you a +2 item bonus to athletics checks. But why are we tripping and shoving? Let's look at that real quick. Pretty sure you're not ever gonna want to grapple on this one. Probably not anyway. Maybe you want to stop people from running away, but I feel like our better strats here are just to debuff. Shove, for 1 action, attempt an athletics check against the fort DC of the opponent. On a success, you push your target back 5 feet, can follow it if you want. Crit success, you push your target 10 feet away from you. This one's as useful as your battlefields are. I'm a big fan of very dynamic, very fancy maps. I'm legitimately thinking about it being a long-term Patreon goal for Black Dragon Gaming to just have a tier 1 cartographer in my back pocket to make all of my maps, because I personally love when I can just yeet somebody off a cliff, yeet someone into the water, yeet someone off my ship, yeet someone into fire, yeet someone into the threat range of the barbarian, yeet someone away from the wizard. Tripping targets the reflex DC. On a success, they land prone. On a critical success, they land prone and take a d6 of bludgeoning damage. Have a -2 on their attack rolls, -2 on their armor class, must burn an action to stand. Really good if you recall knowledge about something and realize, for 3 actions, that could do a thing that would suck. I don't want that to happen to my friends. Whoop, trip them. And then beat them up while they're down, right? Easy enough. Disarming can also be useful against the target's reflex DC. You have to hit critical success to pull the item out of someone's grasp. Though a success -2 circumstance penalty to attacks is kind of neat. Again, with our strat powers, we can see if there's a natural 20 there and don't ever have to worry about having wasted the turn if we just really want to spend an action, knock something to the ground in the target space, then like use our second action, pick up sword, use our third action to maybe strike with the sword, or just run away with someone's longsword going nanner neener boo boo. And yeah, that's what we're looking at here today. Do you have options in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Yes. Do they require a little building around? Yes. Even if we didn't have devise a stratagem, they're still there. This just helps being able to get into that with a little more confidence, a little more breathing room, knowing that when we stick something, it will succeed, and leaving us the ability to run around and do other things with a safety net. We have a ranged attack and a melee attack on the same character without having to interact to change handedness a bunch. We can identify a monster's strengths and weaknesses. We're very fast, and while like the rogue, the barbarian, the fighter may do net more damage over time than the rest of us, the things we do in combat will be impactful, will make a difference, and will be as varied as the board you're on and how creative your game master is. But that's all I have to say for now. What do y'all think? Is that enough options for you? What else do you want out of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition stuff? How are you diversifying your combat options in P2? Throw it in the comments. Haven't had a chance to say it yet, so I'll say it here now. Happy New Year. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. We'll be at it for another episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit next week. Till then, yeah, I'll see you next time.